Rain hammered the broken streets like angry fists. Shadows moved unnaturally, too fast, too deliberate. Somewhere in the wreckage of the abandoned city, a predator watched. Its eyes glowed faintly, unblinking, scanning for weakness. And then she appeared. Human. Alone. Heart hammering, breath shallow, but unbroken. She wasn't running. She stood in the flickering neon, staring straight at the impossible. A predator that had hunted entire colonies. A predator that had never failed. The air thickened with tension. Every step it took was calculated, deliberate. Every muscle in her body screamed to flee. But she didn't. Instead, she whispered something under her breath. A challenge. Not just to survive, but to fight. Lightning illuminated her face for a fraction of a second. Determination. Fear. Anger. Every human emotion wrapped into a single, defiant glare. The predator tilted its head, sensing something different. Something dangerous. Something it hadn't felt in eons. Fear of her. Then it lunged. But she was ready. And in that instant, the balance of hunter and hunted shifted, and humanity was about to strike back. Rain had soaked the city into a slick, reflective maze of broken glass and crumbling concrete. The streets smelled of ozone and burned circuits from shattered neon signs. Shadows clung to corners like living things, and somewhere in the distance, the low hum of alien machinery pulsed, a constant reminder that she was not alone. She moved carefully, one foot in front of the other, boots splashing shallow puddles. Her senses were sharpened beyond normal human limits, not by technology, but by instinct honed over years of survival. Every sound, every flicker of light, every drop of rain against metal could be a signal, a trap, or a warning. The predator's presence was closer now. She could feel it before she saw it. The air vibrated with its silent power, the quiet inevitability of a hunter who had never failed. Most humans would have panicked. Most humans would have run. But she didn't, because she had learned something they hadn't. Fear could be weaponized. From the corner of her eye, she saw a faint glow, bioluminescent eyes reflecting off the wet asphalt. It was studying her, circling, measuring. She crouched behind a collapsed drone tower, every muscle coiled like spring. Her mind raced, calculating the predator's speed, its weight, the trajectory it might take. Her fingers brushed against the edge of a broken pipe. Steel, sharp, heavy enough to injure, if wielded correctly. She remembered a phrase her grandfather once said, long before the war, long before the aliens arrived. Humans survive because we adapt faster than anything else. And adapt she would. The predator moved closer, its steps silent but deliberate. It had seen her now, the glow of its eyes fixing on her like a laser. Most prey would freeze. Most prey would scream. Most prey would die. But she didn't. She stepped out, letting the rain soak her completely, letting the predator see her fully. "You want this?" she called, her voice carrying over the storm. "Come on. Let's see what you've got." The predator hesitated. That pause was all she needed. The first human trick, misdirection. She rolled sideways, letting the predator's momentum carry it past her. Its clawed hands scraped concrete, sparks flying as it corrected its path. She ran, zigzagging through the wreckage. Broken walls, dangling power lines, and puddles of toxic sludge became her allies. Every trap she set was calculated, not to kill the predator yet, but to slow it down, to make it predictable. Each movement was a statement. You are powerful, but I am smarter. The alien screeched, a sound that vibrated through the air like nails on glass. Its language wasn't human, but the intent was clear: dominance, fear, hunger. And for the first time, there was hesitation. Uncertainty. She ducked behind a half-collapsed building and pulled a fragment of a shattered drone toward her. With precise aim, she triggered its emergency charge. A pulse of electricity arced across the street, lighting up the predator's body in stark white light. It roared in frustration, lashing out blindly. That pulse bought her seconds. She sprinted up a narrow stairwell, panting, rain streaming down her face, blending with streaks of dirt and blood from a scrape along her arm. Her mind was racing, heart hammering, but it was calm chaos, a controlled storm. On the rooftop, she paused. From here, she could see the predator emerging from the street below. Towering, monstrous, and terrifying, but not invincible. Its gaze tracked her, scanning for patterns, for weaknesses. And that was when she realized something fundamental. She didn't need to overpower it. She needed to outthink it. The predator lunged up toward her, its claws scraping the edge of the building. She rolled aside at the last moment, letting its momentum send it crashing through the roof of a smaller adjacent building. Splinters and debris rained around her, and for a moment, she allowed herself a small, grim smile. This was a game she could win, but only if she continued to force it to play by her rules. Every alley, every puddle, every shadow was now a weapon. Every heartbeat, a signal. She could feel the predator growing frustrated, overextending, becoming predictable. And then she saw it. A narrow corridor between two buildings, lined with remnants of alien machinery, wires hanging like traps. It was perfect. She didn't hesitate. Stepping into the corridor, she drew a deep breath. This was where she would strike, not just to survive, but to make a statement. Humanity wasn't weak. Humanity wasn't prey. Humanity was relentless, resourceful, and dangerous when cornered. The predator appeared at the corridor's entrance, eyes glowing brighter in anticipation. It was ready to finish her, but she was ready too. And in that instant, as the rain continued to hammer the city, a truth burned in her chest like fire. She was not just surviving. She was making them fear us. The storm raged around them. The predator lunged, and the first real battle for dominance began. The corridor was narrow, the walls slick with rainwater and grime, the remnants of alien tech humming faintly, leaking sparks that flickered like dying fireflies. She crouched behind a bent pipe, muscles coiled, heartbeat steady despite the storm pounding her chest. The predator's shadow stretched across the walls, enormous, unrelenting. Every second it spent calculating her next move was a second she could use to prepare. She remembered the training she'd never received in any academy, the kind humans developed by necessity, not privilege. Survival was instinct. Strategy was memory. Adaptation was the weapon. And she had all three. The predator lunged again, faster this time, claws scraping metal, sparks flying. She sidestepped, barely, letting its momentum carry it into a wall lined with jagged rebar. The metal twisted and groaned under its weight, a shower of sparks and concrete dust spraying into the corridor. The predator roared, a sound that seemed to reverberate in her chest, but she didn't flinch. She had to keep moving. Standing still was death. So she ran, using the alien debris as cover, her mind mapping every potential advantage. A broken ventilation shaft above caught her eye. She vaulted up, landing on the edge of a rusted metal grate, and swung herself over the predator's head. Its clawed hands tore through the empty air where she had been seconds before, shredding a section of the wall in their fury. From above, she could see the predator below, snarling, calculating, furious. Its alien mind was relentless, but her unpredictability gave her an edge. She could see its patterns now, how it attacked with overconfidence when it thought prey was cornered, how it underestimated the ingenuity of a human. She reached a pile of twisted metal and broken machinery, and an idea sparked. Using a shard of a broken drone's battery, she rigged a makeshift trap. Small, but enough to catch its attention. She tossed it lightly to the far end of the corridor. Sparks flew, a small explosion crackling in the dark. The predator froze for a moment, eyes narrowing. Then it lunged toward the noise, assuming the path was clear. She waited, breathing controlled, muscles tight. As it passed, she kicked the edge of a metal beam, sending it swinging down like a pendulum. It slammed into the predator's back, staggering it forward. A hiss of pain escaped its throat. Victory? Not yet. But it was something, a reminder that even monsters could be struck if underestimated humans. The predator recovered instantly, spinning around with terrifying speed. Its eyes, glowing faintly in the dark, locked onto her again. This time, she didn't move first. She waited, baiting it, letting it overcommit. Then she ducked low, rolling beneath its strike, and grabbed a jagged pipe from the floor. Metal met alien flesh with a screech that cut through the storm. The predator hissed, retracting, its claws scraping sparks from the walls. But she couldn't stop here. Not yet. Her lungs burned, her muscles screamed. But fear was a luxury she didn't have. Humans endured, humans improvised, and humans fought when everything told them they couldn't. Every move she made, every trap she set, was a message: we are not prey. We're dangerous. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the corridor, and for a heartbeat, she saw the predator fully. Its size was monstrous, but it was also learning. It was adapting just as she was. That realization brought a cold clarity. She couldn't just fight brute force. She had to make it fear her ingenuity. She vaulted onto a crate, positioning herself above it, luring it beneath her. Then, using a severed cable from the broken drones, she swung down, landing atop its back, pressing the sharp end of the pipe against the base of its neck. The predator froze for a split second, shock rippling through its body. But it was still alive, still fighting, still the apex predator it had always been. She held her ground, sweat and rain blurring her vision, heart hammering with a mix of fear and exhilaration. And then she realized something terrifying and beautiful. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was taking control. For the first time, the predator was reacting to her, not the other way around. A roar erupted from the alien, shaking the corridor walls. But she didn't falter. She pivoted, using the predator's own momentum to slam it into the side wall. Sparks flew, metal bent, and for a moment, the creature faltered. That was all she needed. She jumped off, rolling into cover, breathing hard, adrenaline coursing through every vein. From the corner of her eye, she saw a narrow ventilation duct leading upward, her chance to escape the corridor and force it into open ground, where her traps and tactics would matter even more. She sprinted, every step calculated, every movement precise. The predator followed, but with a cautious hesitation now. It had underestimated the human. It would not make that mistake again. And as she climbed, rain pelting her back, wind whipping through the open rooftop above, she knew one thing. Humanity had struck first, and this battle was far from over. For the first time in its existence, the predator felt a flicker of fear. And that flicker was all she needed to turn the hunt into a war. The rooftop was slick with rain, the wind whipping her hair across her face, each gust carrying the metallic scent of the city and the acrid tang of alien presence. She paused for a fraction of a second, listening. The predator was below, claws scraping concrete, its roars echoing off broken skyscrapers like thunder. Every fiber in her body screamed to run, but she didn't. She had a plan, and the predator was about to learn that humans weren't just adaptable, they were relentless. Her eyes scanned the rooftop, and she spotted it, a cluster of abandoned construction cranes and scaffolding rising like skeletal fingers into the storm. Perfect, dangerous, strategic, a human-made death trap, if wielded correctly. She sprinted across the wet metal, calculating every movement. The predator followed, heavier steps now, deliberate but slower. It had learned caution, but fear was still alien to it. It didn't know how to process a human who could predict, who could improvise, who could make it hesitate. Lightning split the sky, illuminating her path. She vaulted onto a crane platform, teetering above the city streets below. She could see the predator advancing, calculating, its glowing eyes scanning every shadow. It was huge, brutal, and terrifying, but she wasn't paralyzed by awe. Fear had a place, but it didn't control her. Not anymore. She dropped a cable across the next platform, looping it through the jagged edge of a broken girder. This was no ordinary trap. She had modified it, rigged it with debris and leftover tech. If the predator followed her blindly, the cable would swing, the debris would fall, and it would stumble into a cascade of destruction. She waited, crouched low, muscles coiled. The predator appeared, stepping onto the platform with terrifying precision. Its massive claws tore into the metal as it advanced, following her path. Then she triggered the cable. A chain reaction erupted. Metal beams swung, debris rained down, sparks and smoke filling the stormy air. The predator roared in frustration, staggering under the unexpected assault. But it wasn't defeated. Not yet. It spun, faster than she expected, leaping toward her with impossible speed. She rolled, narrowly avoiding its strike, and bolted toward the next crane. Every step was measured, every heartbeat a countdown to survival or failure. The predator's roar echoed like a drumbeat, announcing its fury. She knew this wasn't just a hunt anymore. It was a duel, a test of intellect, agility, and sheer willpower. Humanity was not just fighting for survival. It was proving its worth, one calculated move at a time. She reached the tallest crane, the platform bending under her weight, swaying with the storm. From this vantage point, she could see the city sprawl beneath her like a fractured chessboard. Every ruined street, every collapsed building was now a potential weapon in her arsenal. The predator followed, cautious now, learning from its mistakes. But humans had something it didn't: creativity. She leapt across the gap between cranes, landing hard but steady. Below, the predator attempted the same maneuver, miscalculating the slick metal. Its claws scraped violently, sparks flying, and it nearly lost balance, but it corrected, snarling in frustration. She paused for a moment, catching her breath, eyes locking onto the predator. For a fleeting second, she saw recognition in its alien gaze. It understood now that she wasn't prey. She was a challenge, and challenges demanded respect, or they died. Her mind raced. She needed a decisive move. Not to kill, it wasn't necessary yet, but to establish dominance. To force the predator to reconsider what humans were capable of. She noticed a construction cable frayed and hanging from the crane, connected to a massive counterweight. With a calculated leap, she grabbed it, swinging herself into position above the predator. It looked up, claws raised, and she let go, landing atop its back with a force it hadn't anticipated. She pressed the cable against its shoulders, yanking with all her strength. Metal groaned and snapped, and the predator stumbled forward, crashing through a series of platforms, sparks flying like fireworks in the storm. It hit the ground below with a deafening crash. She dropped beside it, heart pounding, rain soaking her to the bone, yet a grim satisfaction curling in her chest. For the first time, the predator hesitated, reconsidered, paused. Humanity had struck first, and with precision. She took a moment, chest heaving, adrenaline sharp in her veins. Every scar, every bruise, every wound from this chase was proof of survival, proof of ingenuity, proof that humans were not to be underestimated. The predator rose slowly, towering over her, yet now its stance was different, calculated, cautious, aware that this human was unlike any prey it had encountered. Its glowing eyes flickered, almost as if acknowledging a new reality. Humans were not defenseless. Humans could think. Humans could adapt. Humans could strike back. She straightened, fists clenched, and for the first time in this battle, she smiled. Not with arrogance, but with fierce determination. The storm raged around them, but in that moment, humanity's defiance blazed brighter than lightning. The predator growled low, a warning and a promise. The fight wasn't over, but the scales had shifted. Humanity was no longer the hunted. Humanity had become the threat, and she was the spearhead. The predator crouched in the wreckage below, its massive form shimmering in the storm-soaked darkness. Every muscle tensed, every instinct screaming to attack, but it paused, calculating. This human was unlike any it had ever faced. She was faster, smarter, unpredictable. A storm of will and intellect contained in a single, unbroken form. She stood on the edge of the highest crane, rain streaming down her face, dripping from her hair, soaking her clothes, but she didn't flinch. Her body was bruised, cut, and trembling from the exertion, yet her mind was sharper than ever. Every scar, every heartbeat, Every step she had taken had led to this moment. The predator's eyes glowed with frustration and recognition. It had hunted the most dangerous prey across galaxies, but this was different. The predator's dominance had never been questioned. Its prey had never dared challenge it so directly. And now, it was learning something it could not compute. Humanity does not bow. Humanity fights. She leapt from the crane platform with a primal yell, landing squarely on the predator's back. Metal groaned under the weight, and the predator bucked violently, trying to shake her off. Rain pelted her face, lightning splitting the sky, but she held on. Every human instinct, every ounce of training, every experience that had honed her into a survivor came alive in that instant. Her hands gripped a jagged metal rod, and she drove it down against the predator's shoulder. It roared, a sound so violent it shook the crane and rattled the city below. Sparks flew from the contact, smoke rose in twisting ribbons, and yet she didn't relent. Not an inch, not a moment. The predator spun, trying to dislodge her, claws tearing into the metal beneath them. But she pivoted with it, shifting her weight, using its own strength and momentum against it. Each movement was precise, calculated, an improvisation of strategy, intuition, and raw human grit. It lunged toward her again, this time with a terrifying burst of speed. She rolled off its back, landing behind a dangling crane cable, and yanked it with all her strength. A massive counterweight swung downward, smashing into the predator, sending it crashing through a weakened section of the construction site. Concrete, steel, and alien tech exploded around it. The sound of metal shearing, glass shattering, and the predator's roar echoed like thunder over the ruined city. She didn't pause to watch. Survival demanded momentum. Every human movement was purposeful, every breath a calculated risk. She sprinted, using the wreckage as cover, climbing higher where the predator couldn't reach her easily. Below, the alien rose again, slower this time, more deliberate. It had power, but she had strategy. It had brute force, but she had ingenuity. Lightning illuminated the predator's form, its massive body silhouetted against the stormy skyline. Its glowing eyes flicked toward her, and in that moment, something shifted. Recognition, respect. Even the apex predator could sense it. Humans were dangerous. Humans were not to be underestimated. Humans had struck back, and they had survived. She stood on the edge of the tallest crane, rain lashing against her, muscles burning, lungs screaming, heart pounding. The predator approached, step by careful step, no longer blindly attacking, but considering, calculating. She raised her arms, voice carrying over the storm. This ends now. You learn today that humans don't just survive, we adapt. We fight. We win. The predator paused, and for a heartbeat, it seemed as if the storm itself held its breath. Then it let out a low, guttural hiss, a sound that carried more awe than anger. It slumped slightly, not defeated, but acknowledging the truth. This human, this single human, had shifted the balance. Humanity had struck first. Humanity had survived the impossible. She didn't lower her guard. Not yet. Humans were resilient, but they were also cautious. Every predator could recover. Every threat could return. She studied the alien, calculating the next move, planning the escape route, already thinking several steps ahead. But even in the adrenaline-fueled haze, she allowed herself a small, grim smile. For years, humans had been hunted, pushed to the brink, considered weak, expendable. But today, one human had proven otherwise. Today, the predator had learned a lesson it would not forget. Today, humanity had struck back, and it had done so with intelligence, courage, and relentless will. Rain washed over her, mixing with blood and grime. Yet she felt alive in a way no ordinary human could. The storm around her mirrored the storm within her chest, the wild, chaotic, unstoppable force of a species refusing to be prey. She stepped back from the edge, chest heaving, muscles trembling, and took a long, deliberate breath. Below, the predator disappeared into the shadows of the ruined city, nursing its pride and wounds. But she knew one thing with certainty. The balance had changed. Humanity was no longer defenseless. Humanity was no longer prey. Humanity had learned how to fight back and to survive against impossible odds. She looked out over the wreckage, eyes scanning the city she had fought through, heart swelling with pride and fierce defiance. For every human that had ever been hunted, for every colony that had been lost, for every life threatened by impossible predators, this moment mattered. One human had struck. One human had survived. And through that survival, humanity itself had declared, "We are not weak. We are not helpless. We are dangerous. We are relentless." And the storm raged on, lightning streaking across the sky, echoing the truth of what had happened here tonight. Humanity had struck first, and nothing would ever underestimate again.